Gilbert Burns will take on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, presumably in the co-main event of UFC 264 on July 10th. The NMF belt will be on the line as Thompson makes his return after just a fantastic performance against Vicente Luque, and Burns looks to rebound after falling to Kamaru Usman for a welterweight title bout. So, Drake, this is a big matchup, huge ramifications in the welterweight division. Initial thoughts? Right matchup to make? Do you like it?
Well, first of all, Pat, the Vicente Luque win was excellent, but he also had an excellent performance against Geoff Neal, buddy. You're forgetting about one.
Oh
Forget
man,
the Geoff Neal
I am
performance.
sorry. Yeah, that's on me. That's on
No
me.
respect for Wonder Boy. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I did not at all expect to see this one be made, but I love it. I love it. I don't know if it's if it's what I would have made, because we've kind of, I think most of us here at TBL been feeling like Wonder Boy arguably probably should have got the title shot instead of Masvidal. I mean, you could make the argument for multiple people to get it over Masvidal, but this is probably the next best thing for him. The guy who's ranked in the top three. Wonder Boy's at around 5 right now, as you said before we went on here. Yeah, I love the matchup. I think it's awesome. I think Wonder Boy is looking phenomenal right now, as is Burns, despite the loss to Usman. This matchup is really, really good. I know for a good while people were very interested in Wonder Boy versus Maya, which that one never really got me too excited because of the distance management and it's the striking prowess that Thompson possesses. But people like that for the fact that it was such a striker grappler matchup, like practically the definition of one. But this one is like that enhanced version because Burns has the jiu-jitsu and then the striking to boot. So you get both of those aspects and makes it obviously a tougher challenge for Wonder Boy overall. So, excuse me. Yeah, I love this matchup. I think it'll be very good. Right one to make? I'd probably. I'd have to really dig in and look at the whole lineup of people here, but it's good enough for me, man. I'm all for this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited about this matchup. I did forget about the Geoff Neal fight, but that's also because, I really, in my mind, that's just a 25-minute cardio exercise for Wonder Boy, right? I mean, that was such a beatdown. But when you're looking at, whether or not this is the best matchup to make, honestly, I can't help but feel that Wonder Boy versus Colby would have been a slightly better one, right? Colby Covington is the only one to really push Usman to the brink in terms of, hypothetically going into that round 5, if he had won that round, would have been the champion based on the scorecards. Just great back and forth war. He's been the toughest test of Usman's career so far since Usman's became champ. And then you look at, Wonder Boy, who, again, as you mentioned, we've talked about, he kind of probably deserved the title shot, especially over Masvidal. Burns just, lost, so he's not going to get a rematch immediately, especially after the performance he had. Why not do, Wonder Boy versus Colby in a number 1 contender fight? I fear, as much as I like this matchup, I fear that this is going to give the UFC the ability to, if Wonder Boy wins this fight, or Gilbert really, they get to put that winner over to the side and then decide who should be next, right? Because it's not quite, Covington, who has also really looked phenomenal since his, loss to Usman. He just, destroyed Tyron Woodley. I could see this kind of being you didn't beat the number 1 guy. Whereas if Thompson or Covington fight each other, it would be almost undeniable to give that person the next crack at the belt. So that's the only thing I don't like about this matchup. But in terms of the actual fight itself, this should be a banger. And I am really looking forward to it because it's going to be, I'd assume, striking heavy and just, crazy counter. A lot like the Wonder Boy Luque fight.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's what's so exciting about it. And that's an incredible point that I didn't think about, actually, for getting Colby in that mix somehow and how they could spin this, which, man, that would be so frustrating, especially for it'd be frustrating for Burns too, but more so for Wonder Boy, who is continually trying to work his way back to what would, be that third title shot of his career, and one that he's getting up there in age, man. Like, kind of toss the guy a bone a little bit, especially if he beats Gilbert Burns, and it's kind of something that some other people might still need to see a win like this for Wonder Boy on his record and his winning streak, but just when you consider all the options, as we've been mentioning, we really like Wonder Boy getting the title shot, but not happening. So we got to move on. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I like the Luque comparison, and of course, I'm sure Burns will get some tips and tricks from him. But here's an interesting thing too that I think we should talk about, Pat, because this is on UFC 264, which is the Conor McGregor Poirier trilogy fight. Most likely not 100% openly confirmed by the UFC yet or anything, but very, very likely. All signs pointing in that direction. You would assume that this fight is a very big one, very important in the welterweight division, despite all we said about maybe the winner getting passed over and put to the side. Looking at the card right now, it is absolutely should be the co-main event, still getting built and all that, but this fight as co-main event, we're getting our first co-main that is 5 rounds for non-title. I would love this fight to be 5 rounds. Did they do it for this one?
I can't see it. And, that actually circles back to an amazing point in terms of our discussion about the winner getting passed over. Let's not forget that the co-main event that is 5 rounds is Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
So now now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, I'm probably 90%, 95% sure that the winner of Burns and Thompson is not getting a title shot. Yeah, right. But with that in mind, I can't see them doing this for a 5-round co-main. I think that's going to be kind of a one-off thing, and that's more of a monetary thing. My guess is there's something in a contract that states if you fight in a 5-round fight, you get paid more, rather than having something that says if you're in the main event or if you're in the co-main event, it's something along that nature. So I don't imagine they do a 5-round co-main here with these guys, as much as I would love to see that.
Even though, because we talk about always, and we talked about it before going on as well, the Conor McGregor cards, Conor McGregor cards, typically, historically, especially since he's really blown up, it's all about the main event. That's what attracts the buys and all that. It's not the stacked card myth and what have you. They don't do that for Conor cards, and it goes just fine. They really are actually pretty weak generally. It's all focused around that and still draws all the attention they could ask for. So reason to believe that this won't be a super loaded card. We very well could have already seen the best that will get added to it, unfortunately, but that's just how it goes. That's the business side of things that they do around Conor. But just to give it that boost, and the fact that it's a Conor McGregor card and a Dustin Poirier card, got to put some respect on him. He's the guy who won. And this trilogy overall, all the aspects going into it, make it feel a little bit bigger and, give these guys 2 more rounds, no?
I mean, I hear you and I want that to happen, but you got to remember too, this is International Fight Week card, right? July 10th, it's almost certainly going to be International Fight Week card. So I wouldn't be shocked if we do get another fight added that's a title fight in a division that doesn't necessarily draw
below a non-title fight.
Come on,
let's not.
I mean, I wouldn't do it, but at the same time, I could see that happening. Who knows? It's kind of up in the air. There's so many moving parts, especially with Endeavor buying out the UFC now. It's going to come down to money. So this might be, as you said, the next big, fight that's added, and then there's not much else.
Yeah.
But it circles back to the money. Is if there is nothing stopping them in their contract where it says we have to pay a fighter more if they go 5 rounds, then I could totally see it. Then I think it makes sense to go ahead and do it. But if there is, and I suspect there is, because again, that's kind of the thing that allows, we've talked about pay-per-views being really the headliners. You have to have champions generally. And when you don't, it's usually, Conor McGregor or a very special type of fight. I think that based on the way it would make sense to write the contracts, I could easily see something that instead of main event, co-main event, what have you, it just says 3-round fight, you're paid this, 5-round fight, you're paid this. If a title's on the line, you get this type of boost. So I don't see it happening. I think that's probably why it stops, though. It should be 5 rounds. I'm mad it's not a fight night headliner, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's we still have obviously a lot more to learn about, the 5-round non-title co-mains going forward, and that's why it's fun to speculate and hope. But that is also weird to think about. It hit me as you were saying that if they did do that, that would be 2 fights that don't have titles that are 5 rounds. That is kind of a weird thought as well. So, yeah, I think I'm with you there, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, yeah, I don't see it happening. But, again, great matchup, stylistically, super fun. Glad it's happening. We'll see how it goes. We'll do a prediction video later, as always. But we're both excited about this fight. Let us know in the comments if you're excited about this fight, if you think that Wonder Boy should have fought somebody like Covington, or Burns should have fought somebody like Covington, or any other matchups that you could have seen outside of these two that you would prefer. Let us know, or if this is your ideal situation. And make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, bell notification, all that. And yeah, I mean, right now, July 10th is looking pretty good. So let's hope they keep adding more fights to it. But this should be a banger.